Welcome, everyone, to the Real Whovians cast, episode 659. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Gloria. What's up, Gloria?
Hello.
What's up, Mike D?
Shit, where you at, Connor?
No, Connor, wake up. All right, so
I knew you were going to say that.
I got Sharon to watch. We picked Doctor Who. She watched Waters of Mars with me, okay? Now, I do want to explain how I do believe Moffat had an ultimate plan. Waters of Mars is a very special episode, not only because it's the Time Lord Victorious, but it links two other episodes together, okay? It links Fires of Pompeii, which is very relevant for Series 9, because of, the 12th Doctor's face and the mystery and the storyline behind that.
Very relevant.
Yes, and it also links to Stolen Earth and the Daleks and Davros, because the Dalek let Adelaide Brooks live. So, it's very interesting because that timeline is important to the Daleks, that it continues on the way it is. But it turns out that the 10th Doctor altered the fixed point somehow. So here's my theory on this, okay? You have the main timeline here, right? Going in a straight line, like this, right? And of course, everything's in a state of flux, so you can just keep going straight. But then you have the fixed point that has to stay the way it is, right? Now, the 10th Doctor altered it just a tad. So time is like a train track, okay? The train track turns a little bit, maybe very little, but it's still, where it diverges a little bit. I don't want to use the word divergent. There you go. It turns a little bit, okay? So it kind of creates a very small divergent of events because things are not integral to the ultimate thing of the timeline. I mean, like, those people that survived really didn't do anything with their lives that created anything, but Adelaide Brooks dying, it was a change from Mars to Earth, but it did cause a change, okay? So when time does that, all right, then it goes on a different path, small path, because it's very close to this path. So that creates a different thing where this Davros, okay, can change, be part of that timeline, and then come into ours somehow, I believe. Like, in other words, it's like sideways in time, I guess. Like, the Davros that comes from that timeline that's altered is not necessarily the exact Davros from Stolen Earth, because the timeline's a little bit shifted, okay? So if that Davros merges with the child Davros, it might, that might be the reason why they can merge, because they're not exactly the same timeline period. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think, because with the Brigadier, future and past was the same exact timeline, not changed, which caused an explosion. Amy and Amelia, the timeline was different because Amelia didn't remember her parents. They went to the cracks, okay? That Amelia, yes, they went to the cracks, but she never met the Doctor. So when they were able to touch each other because the timeline was altered. Just like Kazra and Sardik, different timelines, they didn't explode the time continuum, okay? So if it's the same exact timeline, then it could cause an explosion. But if it's been divergent a little bit, different things could happen. Maybe people from that universe could pop into whatever, and we could have different Daleks from different timelines, different, you know what I'm saying? This is what may happen. We may have Daleks from parallel universes or something. Like when something happens with a fixed point, maybe it makes like a window, sort of like the cracks, where they were able to come through. Or they could say that the cracks the Daleks came through the cracks, because it wasn't just necessarily the Time Lords. When that event happened in the 11th hour, there was a lot of things that were coming out of that. Prisoner Zero came out of that. There was the Star Whale. There was all these different things coming out of the cracks. So technically, the cracks could be a portal from another universe. So we can get those Daleks and that Davros from that universe coming through the cracks or whatever.
Huh. That's a really thought out theory. That's really cool.
What do you think?
Mikey?
I'm actually checking on something real quick while you're doing something pertaining to this.
See, if you think about it, the Cybermen from an alternate reality, okay, were not our Cybermen. But then I guess they merged with our Cybermen. So we've had technically two different universe Cybermen. So why couldn't we have two different universe Daleks? The Spider Daleks could be from another universe. Regular Daleks. You know, so this could hold a big connection. Could hold a connection to the Magician's Apprentice, because this Davros could be from another universe, which the Valyard could be from another universe. We don't know. You know, we've seen different universes in, was it Age of Steel, Doomsday, you know, Inferno. But if there was a Valyard from there or a different Doctor from there, you know, imagine if there was just, besides the Cybermen, imagine if it wasn't just the Cybermen, if it was just other races, versions of that universe coming into our own. So why not? Why wouldn't you have the Daleks from a different universe come into our own?
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, because if anything else can come from a different.
I've got something interesting here.
Okay.
I was looking at the word Caecilius in Latin, and the translation is a revision.
What?
A revision.
A revision of the 12th Doctor?
Possibly. But the translation for the name Caecilius is revision.
Revision. Nice.
Wow.
Okay.
I was looking, I thought it might try and fit in with, because I know the Doctor called himself the Time Lord Victorious,
Right.
and I was thinking maybe it had a tie-in with that, but actually revision works just as well. He's a revision.
Right.
I haven't heard anyone bring that up.
Wow, that right there is brilliant. That's great.
Now, another thing that could tie in with my theory about Daleks from another universe is the Peter Capaldi 12th Doctor episode where he encounters alternate versions of himself, probably from alternate universes. So this could tie in with the Dalek thing nicely, that, hey, something went down and there are different Daleks from different universes popping into our own. Seems like there's different Doctors. You know, sort of like you have the Spider-Verse storyline where all the Spider-Mans from different universes come together. They have the Doctor Who one where all the Doctors from different universes come together, or in this case, 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi's. So.
That would explain Torchwood and Caecilius and.
Right. There could be versions, you know.
Well, because we do have an episode where the Doctor's confronting himself, right?
Right.
Didn't we have that reported where? So
he captures many versions of himself.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's it then.
Wow.
All right.
And if that fits in with the whole, like the name with the revision.
Right. Also, too, now that you think about it, because the Daleks have time radiation, or they're able to travel through time, right? If the timeline was altered, they wouldn't be altered because they're time travelers. So just like the Dalek, the Doctor doesn't fade, or Amy or Roy or anybody, they're time travelers. So if their universe gets prevented, they're still around. like traveling through time. They're just anomalies of time. Just like they existed in the universe where they shouldn't have existed in the Big Bang, you know, they're anomalies of time. So.
Shit.
Like the landscape may change, the painting may change, but the painter doesn't change. You know? Meaning the painter could be the Dalek or the Doctor. You know? And everything else, the whole canvas is different, but their history is the same. You know, because they remember encountering each other.
All I think about is that goal.
Speaking of time, yeah, well, no, actually, I'll talk about that in another cast. But, yeah, so it's amazing, like, how you can watch old episodes of Doctor Who and you can get really, you can connect it with the new stuff. You know, so that's cool. Oh, and I didn't tell this on air, but Little Joe contacted me right after, like, he was watching the cast after, and he's like, Dad, no, I'm getting those toys. He's like, I'm getting the action. I'm like, I just promised it to whatever. He's like, no, Dad, I'm coming, I'm taking. So,
you've got doubles of some of them.
He's taking them all. He wants to take them all. So,
well, hell no.
So, yeah, well, you know. All right. They took all my keychains. I bought the keychains. I got to keep Tom Baker at least, but like they took them all. I'm like, oh. I know, man.
All of them being young at heart because you got to share your toys with.
I mean, it's bad enough you take all the systems too, like, you know, the video game. I don't have nothing to play. It's like
no, those are your toys.
My toys, damn it. Yeah, I know.
Be like having a scrap at the down at the playground over that shit.
Yeah.
Those toys and stuff, man. See, and you know, like we're both like 40-ish.
Yeah.
So it's our 40. So it's one of those things where, like, as a kid, I would have loved to have like Doctor Who action figures and shit like that.
There was nothing up for us. There was nothing existing. I was like, oh.
I just settled with like just buying some of the Target novels and like taping stuff from public television.
Yeah, that VH. Yeah, exactly. VCR. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I went overboard with the toys this week, so it's gonna be not for a while. I'm gonna be getting stuff, so gotta make up some of that stuff there. But anyway.
So we got 19 days, something like that, 20 days.
The
show.
Like 21 days, right? Guess it's 21 days. Cause yeah, it's the 30th, and oh yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, it's already gonna be a new day already. Yeah, something like that. Can't wait.
So, dude, less than a month, and we got like a whole new kick-ass series.
That's great.
I was still kind of pissed that they hadn't brought the Candyman back, but.
I know, me too, man. A little upset about that.
What did they kill the Candyman? Did they melt him or something? What happened?
But the guy was thinking about rebuilding him, you know? So he could. Or somebody could.
So something that I saw earlier today, I don't know if we wanted to touch upon it or to what degree we would like to talk about it, but I talked to a couple of people, and from what I understand, what we talked about yesterday was actually not true. That the shrouded figure in the trailer actually is the Master, and that Moffat was trying to kind of put a kibosh on that spoiler getting out. So they were reporting as it being a new character. What do you know about that?
Well, me and Connor were talking about this off air like a couple days ago, and he was telling me that was probably, you know, he heard, because he saw leaks, that it was the John Sim Master from having battles with Rassilon, that he's scarred and he's different and he's not even like... And I kind of got upset about that because I'm like, why couldn't they just get him to do the scene to regenerate? Like, why? Why they got to do the... See, to me, if they asked him and he said no, that's one thing. but I didn't hear anything that they asked him, and that's kind of like putting the wig on Sylvester McCoy and putting the blur thing
Yeah,
on his face.
I was thinking about that.
That's kind of like disrespectful, I think, because just lay out the money and pay him for like a minute. Like,
Yeah, but
why
I
not?
don't know though, because actors they're kind of fickle. Like it seems
Yeah,
like
but come on, man. That's
it seems like Sim would want a little bit more screen time than a minute. Like it
I
seems a
know,
little
but
unceremonious just to have him in that for like a quick moment,
I would like to believe that that's not his master because, again, he had a whole new life cycle of regenerations since Utopia. So I don't know what happened when they tried to bring him back from Lucy
Well,
Saxon and the potion.
why can't the Doctor encounter the Master out of time? We always seem to see the Master in conjunction with the Doctor's time. Why not have this be a Master somewhere like?
Because always met everybody in order. The whole thing was the thing with River was supposed to be exclusive, where they're out of order, but
Yeah, but
nobody else is out of order. But
well, why would that be? That doesn't make sense. I mean, if
well,
you're a
that's
time
why
traveler, you're
Russell T. Davis was doing that, where he was saying, "Oh, the Doctor and Martha are running from Queen Elizabeth. They shot an arrow at him, and obviously she's mad at him for something or whatever. And it was sometime in his future, which is her past or whatever.
yeah.
So, that was touched upon, that because he's a time traveler, he should be meeting people out of order. Correct.
Yeah,
So, well, they could have him encounter the Masters before Roger Delgado. Technically. I mean, technically Roger was the next to last, right? Or the last incarnation?
yes.
Or was he wasn't the first incarnation of the Master,
No,
right?
because they in Deadly Assassin, the
Yeah.
decrepit Master was the same Master as Delgado. He just was rotting.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
That's what they said? That's what they said, that was that same incarnation?
I've been watching videos. Once I theorized that character in the trailer was the Master, I tried to put it together, but I was watching documentaries about how many incarnations of the Master there have been. Connor and I watched them, and from what we put together, that was the case. That was Delgado's Master. He just was in his last regeneration, so his body was like dying because of something that occurred.
Right. So they did the same thing with this Master with John Sim. They repeated that. Kind
Well,
of.
that shroud looks awfully familiar.
Right.
The one that the hoodie's wearing, that character. So, and he looks very Master-ish, albeit a little bit kind of tore up.
Right. I'm just curious.
And we got the shot of that character in front of what looks to be the Sisterhood of Karn, on an area that looks like Karn, or even Pompeii, possibly.
Right. Yeah, and Connor was saying that picture was right after, like, supposedly the Magician's Apprentice shows that Master regenerating to Missy, and they had a picture of Missy close up. But then I'm like, oh, they have lipstick on Karn? Because how the hell did the regeneration just create lipstick on her face?
Yeah,
Or was
I
it
saw
like,
that.
that was like, okay. And we're going to have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and, like everybody else. September 19th.
Shit.
I don't know. But
I want some leaked episodes.
no, Moffat did that. I think Moffat was behind that the first time, and he's not doing it now. Absolutely not. Because you could tell he did it because he said, "Oh, if I was a fan, absolutely. What are you crazy? I would freaking get that episode, watch that. Nothing wrong with that." And then everybody, all the fans that were like saying you shouldn't watch that, they didn't know what to say. They're like, "Oh yeah, well, the showrunner just said that it was okay." So it was like egg on everybody's face. That was great.
Wanted to see what the
It
fans.
was like egg on everybody's face that ridiculed other Doctor Who fans for reading the leaked scripts and watching the episodes early because Moffat said flat out he would do it himself, and nothing's wrong with that. So, it's wrong with it if you share it everywhere where it's like, hey, But
Yeah.
whatever.
So, but people shouldn't put down the ones that were wanting to watch it. I mean, I can understand if you're trying to force it down someone who doesn't want to watch it, try to get them to watch it.
Everybody just needs to enjoy it. Like
Well,
just
Matt Edwards and I had a great time watching those leaked episodes.
Yeah.
We screen shared it, watched it, had a good
yeah,
laugh.
I watched it too.
I do not regret watching the first, the first episode, deep breath episode.
Yeah.
I don't regret it. That was great because it was a little different watching it. Because like when other times you see an episode before it's done and see how it looks unfinished, and then see it when it's finished. Because once you see it finished, you never see how it would look otherwise. Like the unfinished.
Right.
It's really cool to see that insider. Something only the people who work for BBC would see.
Right.
I'm not convinced that a lot of the backlash against the whole spoiler issue from last season was really like legit. I think because I noticed some people actually that were they were talking about that they wouldn't want to watch the spoilers, and I had heard from them later on, and they told me that they ended up caving in and watching them.
Yeah, a lot of people did,
So,
and Moffat basically said because there was fans were against each other. It's like, listen, dude, it's fine. Like I would do the same thing. So that put the end to that argument. Like just relax yourself, get over yourself, and watch Doctor Who and enjoy it.
Yeah, that stuff, it's not even really an argument. It was just about, like, I mean, it doesn't lessen the experience if you're a fan of the show on one side or the other.
Right.
If you were someone who wanted to watch something or read the script or something.
It's split like the Whovians, like all us Whovians into like say separate categories, like like two categories, like Republican and Democrat. There was like these type of Whovians and these type of Whovians. It's like we're just Whovians. It's like just we love Doctor Who. That's it. It's whether we've seen the script, so what? If you worked on the set, you would see the script before anybody else. So, and the press see the script before anybody else or the episode. So what's the difference? If you have an opportunity and you get to see it, as long as you don't ruin it for anybody else, what's the difference?
The way I look at it is, especially for myself, when I was watching it, I looked at it just like I would like if I was at a private screening.
Right.
For fans who chose to want to see it, and it's like, wow, because it's good because it creates hype for the series to tell people how great it was.
And we didn't ruin anything for anybody. We waited till the episode aired before we started talking about it. So we didn't. I don't think we really said anything like when we saw the episodes before time would happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't going down that road of personalizing it to the cast we have or anything.
Right.
But I mean, I'm just talking in general in the general fandom itself.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Well, it's I just can't wait for this to start, and then of course it's going to be gone before we know it, and then we're going to be pondering 2016. What's the story with that?
The black clouds showing up.
Well, no, I kind of, I don't really want to deal with that right now. I don't even want to think of it. I really don't know what's going to happen.
Well, they're going to be under pressure because if this series is like very well responded to by the community,
right?
It's going to demand a very prompt follow-up.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it see, this is what they don't understand. If it does so phenomenal in the ratings, and oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever! Wow, the greatest season! Oh my God, awards for everybody, right? Then, like, once you're in the wave, ride the wave. Don't like stop and leave and go home. I mean, you got to push your product, and you got to keep building it and building it and building. You can't say, okay, cool, we had the great. Now we're going to chill for like a year, because it's so hard to build that product back. Because then what happens? People will dissect the episodes. They'll revisit the episodes. They'll dissect it again and say, well, were they really worth it to not be on for like 2 years and stuff like? I mean, like, people are going to go crazy if they don't have Doctor Who for a whole year. Because it's not a whole year. It's going to be technically a year and 10 months because they got to film for 10 months. So
not only that, Joe. Also, if it does well, they will stop trying to push him to give up or, leave the show. Keep him up. They'll actually stay on.
Well, technically, here's the thing. From what I understand, right? Moffat signed for Series 10 as long as it's in 2016, and Capaldi signed for Series 10 as long as it's 2016. So what happens when you don't have a full series in 2016? Is the contract null and void, and do you have to renegotiate the contract because you can't technically keep someone bound to a contract and spread that out for 2 years? So what is the deal then? Does it mean that now there is an escape clause in your contract where you could say, well, I wanted to stay in the role, but my time is, with the Doctor may be gone sooner than later. I mean, that may happen because
I just don't want to see what happened with Colin Baker, where like you had 2 episodes and then there was some stuff that went on behind the scenes.
Right.
Albeit in a different fashion, but if they are off the air for like that period of time, people are going to like pick up on a different show. I mean, not like diehard fans, but I mean, like we've had a lot of fans come in from Matt Smith's era, like a large proportion of the Doctor Who community, the younger generation, and they're not going to want to stick around. They're going to be like, "What's this crap?" We got like 2 seasons.
I love Doctor Who, man. I love it to death, man. I want it to stay around. So I mean, I get very upset when I think about what are we going to see in 2016 because I want to see it. I want to see it. I mean, I don't know what we're going to see, and it's scary, man. You're going to have a great year, and then you're not going to have nothingness. It's like, it's so hard to build it up. I mean, it's not that easy. If the Doctor Who is absent for over a year, it's going to be so hard to, like, people's attention spans. They go with the next show. It's going to be so hard to recapture the ratings and everything with things.
Well, the thing is, after having a period of time where the creative staff are away from the show, like, in a way, that does work when Doctor Who's been off for, like, such a long period of time, like when the new series started. But we just got introduced to a new Doctor, and if the show goes off the air for, like, the equivalent of a little bit less than 2 years, that's going to be really tough to pick up that steam again, like with the same Doctor. I mean, because what are you going to do to build back up all the hoopla around the show coming back, other than just the show's coming back? You're going to maintain.
The sites are out of business. The last time this happened with a split that carried over into 2 years, people lost their jobs, man. It was no joke. They shut down special effects factories. People lost their jobs, and half these sites were in trouble because then they started becoming like crap sites where just to get any news, they made shit up half the times just to get interest in the site that there was no Doctor Who for like a year. So it was just a disaster because everybody became like, for any little news, and there was no news. It was like bad. It was bad, and I hate that part when Doctor Who is absent that much that they don't want to be out of work. They don't want the sites to go down, and they start putting crap out there.
So the true point of contention is Moffat, correct? Like him working on Sherlock. Is that the?
You know what? Honestly,
because if that's the case, for the greater good of the show, Moffat should back off from it.
See, that's why people think right away, because we would say Moffat got to go, that we're haters. No. Why can't we have two showrunners? Why can't we have two?
I'm not even approaching. Hold on. I'm not even approaching it from that point of view. I want to be clear about my statement I made.
Right.
I'm not saying that I dislike Moffat. He needs to go. That's not my statement. I'm saying if he wants to focus on Sherlock, then for the greater good of the show, and even as a fan, as Moffat professes to be, he should do the right thing and back off from the show.
I agree.
So the show can continue. That was the point I was making.
My whole point is, you know what? If you want to have your cake and you eat it too, right? And Moffat refuses to go, but Doctor Who's going to suffer, then have two showrunners.
Well, that's going to backfire. That's going to backfire on Moffat too, because if he ends up.
No, it wouldn't. Because you want to know why? Sherlock has two showrunners, Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat. So let Mark Gatiss be a co-showrunner.
No, I'm not saying that. I didn't finish what I was.
Oh, sorry.
Point. my point is, I'm saying that's going to backfire on Moffat if he ends up hurting Who by not doing that. Is what the point I'm trying to make. Like if Moffat is like, well, we're not going to have Who in 2016 and a large portion of 2017 while they're hypothetically going to be filming to do a series for that year. If the Who community loses a lot of its steam because of that, there's going to be a backlash from the fans, and they're going to be looking at Moffat going, he's the cause of this.
I know. But my whole point is I don't understand why he can't just, if he can't get the scripts out, then if he's not going to leave a showrunner, have it like a co-showrunner where Mark Gatiss is doing it.
Doing the same thing that he's doing for Sherlock, having...
Right. Why can't we have that? I don't understand if Mark Gatiss is doing Sherlock with him.
Yeah.
So Mark Gatiss is a co-showrunner.
Yeah, he should be a
Just like they have books that have co-writers. You know, Moffat does an episode with Neil Gaiman, or Moffat does an episode with this one. Why can't you have a co-showrunner where Gatiss is in charge of getting people to put this? First of all, there should be no lack of scripts, and I'll tell you why, okay? Neil Gaiman wants to do something for Series 10. There's a whole bunch of people. Let them do their own thing. Why do you have to have a storyline, right? Yes, you can have a story arc, okay? But, you know, stop trying to have the biggest cliffhanger every year. Like, oh my God, because after a while it's going to be too much pressure. You're not going to be able to do it. You can't outdo yourself like that. So just, when you did Blink, you didn't even try to outdo yourself, and it was a fantastic episode. Same thing like these other episodes. But when he tries to top it, things start getting messed up. The second part is crap compared to the first. I mean, we need another showrunner in there to just let the writers do their own thing and just put the Doctor and the companion in the situation. And you know what? If there's not a massive storyline so we can keep a season, so be it.
Do you think some of that's because Moffat is afraid that before the time comes when he actually leaves just for good and gets completely replaced by someone, he doesn't want to have somebody maybe outshine him, come on?
See, the thing is that
Moffat's technically still there.
See, the thing is, he's a genius, okay? He's a great writer when he wants to be, okay? But the problem is there is so much attention taken away from Doctor Who that he creates plot holes because his attention is not on the detail to be 100% focused on it. So when it's done, he's like, oh, you know, I didn't realize it, but I stole the whole idea of Danny Pink as the first time traveler from the Hyde episode from my other writer. And it's like, I just repeated myself. Crap. You know? Or like, oh, Listen is like the episode of, you know, Midnight. Or it's like the episode of, you know, Listen's like, you know, Utopia, where that's all the way in the future and one planet left and where the Toglophane would go into, whatever. So if he's got to be 100% focused on what he's doing, so he doesn't. I don't think like when he puts this stuff out there that he realizes that he's copying himself or he's copying as other writers, because I think he's so friggin' exhausted when he's popping this out, he don't realize it until after, and he's like, oh my God, I used a joke about the sonic screwdriver making cabinets 3 times in like 4 years. It's like, you know, because sometimes he does repeat himself with lines, you know, from seasons. It's like, you know, if he's focused, he wouldn't be doing that. Same thing with the plots. Like, you know, if we bring up the storylines, right? One of the original things about the Pandorica Opens and the Big Bang, right, was that the Doctor and River find out that everybody that he's ever faced ever is converging on this one spot, right?
Yeah.
Well, why are you repeating it the following year in the Wedding of River Song, where River Song sends a distress call to every single person, villain and hero alike, that the Doctor's dying, help him out. And then the following year after that, where the time of the Doctor, like, everybody's going to Trenzalore. Why are you repeating yourself?
Yeah.
Stop repeating yourself. Because it's not as interesting. Like, you think it's, You're doing something intellectual. You're not. You're like, it's the same thing. You know, Smith and Jones with the prisoner that alludes to Jadoon is the same thing as 11th Hour. We have Prisoner Zero alluding to Atraxi. It's the same thing. Like the gridlock where they're traveling, you know, to try to reach, you know, the what is it, the city or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then they go down and see a beast down there below, right? Then you got the beast below. It's like the same crap. You know, it's like it's one's Russell T Davies, and then Moffat's reusing it.
And then the whole thing with them trying to get to the city kind of reminds me about how they're trying to get to Utopia.
Right. Well, that's another thing. The whole thing with Utopia, which is so far, trillions of years in the future, where they're trying to get to that one planet that's left. That's the same thing as Listen.
Yeah, and Listen, yeah.
And Hyde, where the Warner's child in that far, 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 far future is a time traveler, and she's African American or whatever.
Like,
That's in pink.
Yeah. Or
like, stop copying off yourself or your other writers. And it's like, what are you doing? You know, Amy and Rory shrink in the test elector. Okay? The Doctor shrinks in the test elector and gets married to River Song. So you have the idea in your head about shrinking. So why don't we do this Revolution episode called To the Dalek? I mean, like, you just did it 2 years before that with different things.
Well, the Doctor and Joe got struck down in Carnival of Monsters.
Right, exactly. And they had their own little universe thing in there with the, you know, they had the guy that played Harry, but he was a different character, right?
Yeah, Ian Martyr, and then they had the one with the one with the Drashings.
Yes, exactly. And it turned out that the guy was a showman, and he was not supposed to be using that technology. You know, and then the Doctor got out of that.
He had like that cheap tinfoil outfit that looked like it had lifesavers stuck on.
Yeah, the girl that was like, you know, the showgirl or whatever.
Like, what, aluminum foil go-go dancer.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, we need to like not repeat ourselves. Like.
Yeah, but this series, from what we heard, this series is going to be drastically
original.
Yeah.
Which is good. You know, that's what I want.
And I like what I'm hearing about Clara has matured more, where she's, like, feasibly, from what I've heard, I'll say again, that her character is going to be a little bit more self-standing, a little bit less, like, trying to run the Doctor.
Well, she's grateful that she didn't die as an old woman, so now she's just going to have fun. Because, you know, she doesn't have Danny Pink in her life. She don't want to be left behind, so, you know. We'll see what happens with that. I want to enjoy Series 9, and then I'll worry about the future after that. I know the Christmas special they film on Monday. So that's going to take a couple weeks, and then the Christmas will be in the can, and it'll be done. We don't know who's going to be in the Christmas special. Of course, we've heard rumors they want to have someone big in it, like they did in the past. I vote for Patrick Stewart, but we'll see who they get. I really want to see Patrick Stewart in the Christmas special, but
yeah, he's got a new show on some network. I forget. It might be Netflix,
Stars, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully him. I do want to see Patrick Stewart in there. I think it'll be great. Him being a villain or something.
Ian McCullen.
They don't call him. I don't know why they don't call him. They had everybody. They had Magneto. What are you talking about? They had everybody in there. Why not? Get him in there.
And I want Jack Carson.
Yeah, you want Captain Jack.
And River.
River, I think, will be in the specials. Gotta be.
Well, Gloria will like that.
Yeah.
I think River's definitely coming back.
Spoilers.
Yeah, she's coming back. That'd be great. All right, King, that's it. Have a good night. Take care. Bye for now.